Welcome back to yet another episode at Anna Ed Talks, where we invite brilliant minds. We discuss ideas across industries and break down how those ideas could transform into impact. And today we have with us a highly distinguished personality from the field of education, Mr. Kai Vacher. If I were to give Mr. Kai Vacher's full introduction that he truly deserves, we would be spending entire day right here. We could have another episode for that for sure. A simple British gentleman who spent 25 years in teaching and leading schools in UK takes on a leadership as a principal in Oman, heads not just one but two successful schools, British School Muscat and British School Salalah. He is also one of the Pi Top 50 Voices of 2025, received honors as one of the top international educational influencers by ISC Research for the year 2021, 2022, and 2024. He was named as a High Performance Learning Fellow in 2021. He was shortlisted for TESS International Principal of the Year 2024. And no, he doesn't just settle with that. He also runs his own podcast, Educator's Corner, where he practically explores everything from AI ed talk to coaching culture. So please join me to welcome the man at the heart of all this, Mr. Kai Vacher. Welcome, sir, to our show. It's an absolute pleasure and honor to have you with us today. We've been exchanging emails and DMs for about a month now, and we finally have you with us virtually. And God willing, someday we would love to have you with us offline, for sure. What do you think, ma'am?
Certainly. That would be a great pleasure and great honor, sir, to have you here in India amidst us and to host you and to kind of welcome you. I would look forward to that day. Yes.
And today's episode is also special because we have with us our captain of ship, our head of school, Mrs. Nuzhat Khan.
That's me.
Staying true to our philosophy of learning by doing, we have with us our two lovely, very pretty girls from IBCP section, grade 11, Miss Nishtha and Miss Zene. So, are we ready for the podcast then? Should we begin with your permission, sir?
Yeah, let's go.
Over to you, my girls.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, sir.
Let's go.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. So, sir, where did you grow up and what was your family like? If you could share some special childhood memories that stayed with you even now.
Well, thank you very much, first of all, for inviting me onto your podcast. I think it's fantastic now we're in a world where schools like ASPE, Newtown Academy are running their own podcasts, and we're engaging in some really interesting conversations. So well done. Congratulations. It's great to be part of your podcast today, an absolute privilege. So growing up, key memories, what was it like? I guess one of the overriding memories of my childhood, I had an elder brother and a younger brother, mother and father. I was born in Leeds, which is up in the north of the UK. Some people would say it's more up in the north. That's where I lived in the first part of my life. And then when I was 8, we moved down to Birmingham in the Midlands. But wherever we were, my parents, who fortunately for me, they're still both alive and they're still both very well in their late 80s. But they were always very keen that we would go outside and we would experience nature. So even if it was raining outside and it was freezing cold, my mother would be, just go in the garden, just go and do something in the garden, because a lot of the houses in UK have gardens. And certainly at the weekends, my mother or my father or both my parents would always try and make sure that in the weekend schedule, there'd be time where we'd go out into the countryside, because Leeds is quite a big city, but we'd drive out of Leeds into the countryside and we'd go for a walk, or in the summer we'd swim in the river, or in the holidays we would walk up in the mountains of the Lake District.
Wow. That's an absolute need of the hour, even in
or the Yorkshire Dales, or this big. Yeah, so they were very, very keen that we had fresh air and that we embraced nature and that we were active. And I guess that still has stayed with me, that experience, because every day, even if it's just a walk to school, even in this hot weather, I mean, it's nearly 40 degrees here in Oman, but this morning I still walk to school and I'll walk home. And if I'm lucky, I'll manage a walk down to the beach, because I like to keep physically active, and I like to be out in the fresh air, even if it's fairly hot. So that idea of being active and being outside, that was a key part of my childhood, and that still stays very much with me today.
I think that's very
brilliant.
important
Yeah.
that from the very primitive age, your parents sowed the seeds of naturalistic learning and learning in the lap
Yes.
of. And that is the reason we see you also like an outdoor person. That's a question coming up there.
Yes. Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Ma'am. So, were you always drawn to education as a career, or did that come later?
Well, I shall tell you another little story from was I always drawn to education. At the end of my first year as a child at school, so we start at age 4. So by the end of the first year, I was 5. And it got to the end of this school year. And I remember saying to my parents, I'm really sad the school year's over. I don't want the school holidays because I was enjoying being at school, and I was enjoying learning so much that I was sad when that came to an end. But I did go on to enjoy the summer holidays. But was I always drawn to education? I think as I got into my teenage years, some of my friends used to say, you're going to be a teacher when you grow up. And I was like, no, I'm not going to be a teacher. And my parents and my parents, who were both teaching, that I wasn't going to be a teacher. They didn't want me to be a teacher. It was quite tough being a teacher when they were teaching in the UK in the 70s and 80s, and they didn't want their middle son to become a teacher. And so off I went to university, and I then went into insurance. Worked in the insurance industry for a year, and I think probably all the time there was this inner teacher in me, which I probably was trying to maybe suppress a bit, because when you're maybe 17, 18, it's not that cool to be a teacher. And my parents were saying, no, don't go into teaching. But when I was in insurance, I did not find working in the insurance world in an office, doing a lot of clerical work with lots of numbers, trying to make as much money as possible for the insurance company. I didn't. I was a young man who wanted to make a difference in the world, and working for this insurance company, trying to make as much money for them as possible, didn't really align with my yearning to try and make a difference. And so, within a few minutes, I could say, as I walked up the very first morning of that insurance job, I was walking up the stairs to the office, and it just did not feel right. I knew it was not right, and I think this inner educator within me finally sort of came out. And so very quickly, I mean, I did last the year there in the insurance company, but very quickly I applied to teacher training, and the moment I walked into a school on my teacher training course, I just felt, yeah, this is where I want to be. This is where I need to be. So there was probably this inner calling within me, which once I was maybe in the insurance office, I then allowed that to come out. And then, but the good thing about the insurance experience is that it did really that I didn't want to be in insurance or in the finance industry, and I did really want to go into education, and I just had to go with that inner drive that was within me.
Lovely. Actually, and that was your true calling, I believe, right? A true.
Yes, I think so. Yes, yeah. But sometimes you have to do things that you don't like, or you find out what you don't want to do to actually work out what you do want to do.
And I think that is where your resilience stems out.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
How would you like to describe your 25 years of education in London, and what did success look at 25?
Well, what does success look like? On one level, success looked like, I mean, what I didn't tell you about my childhood so far is that growing up, I had a pretty bad stammer, had a pretty bad speech impediment. And even though I had this inner calling to become a teacher, when I started my teacher training, I was terrified that I actually wouldn't be able to be a teacher, because I would just stammer far too much, and the kids would just laugh and make fun of me, and I wouldn't be able to do it. And so when I did my very first lesson, yeah, for days before and for the night before, I was absolutely terrified that I wasn't going to be able to be a teacher, even though I wanted to be a teacher. Anyway, by the time I got to that 25 years, I was really pleased that I had been able to be a teacher. I'd been a classroom teacher, and I'd been a sort of school leader for 15 years, and then I worked in a school improvement charity. So on one level, I was pleased that I just got like 25 years into an education career, because when I was your age, I was thinking, well, I might want to go into education, but what if I can't speak properly? So that was an achievement. But then beyond that, I certainly done more than I have heard the research, which suggests if you want to be even reasonably good at something, you need to practice it for 10,000 hours. So after 25 years, if you do the maths, I taught more than 10,000 hours. So I felt I'd sort of honed my craft. I wasn't perfect, and I still had a lot to learn about teaching, but I was a sort of reasonable. Even on a bad day, I was a reasonable teacher, and on a good day, hopefully, I was a pretty good teacher. And I had a lot of good feedback from students and parents who appreciated the teaching. So I was really pleased to I'd made it as a teacher, and then I'd started to learn a little bit about leading schools and being a leader in education, and working for the education charity, which I did for 9 years, like the last 9 of those 25 in London. Um, I learnt that by visiting lots of different schools across the country, and working with them and supporting with them, that there are many different ways in which you can teach and which you can lead a school. And there's no one right way of doing anything. And so I was exposed to lots of different school leaders, lots of different teachers, lots of different education thinkers. And it really gave me a very broad perspective of what works in education and what doesn't work in education, but also what's actually possible. So yeah, I was a good teacher. I was an embryonic leader, and I was starting to learn a little bit about innovation and leading change in education.
That's amazing. I think from stammer to overcoming your stammer to becoming an educationist and going in for, through rigorous, yeah, absolutely. Now,
right there.
people, if we talk about educationists, I think we Google your name and you're right at the top. So that's a great achievement. And you've overcome all your obstacles to reach where you are. And we wish you more milestones yet in the future to come.
Thank you very much.
So, what first brought you to Oman? I mean, what were your first impressions of the country and the culture there?
My first impressions of the country, well, I arrived, once I'd got the job, I arrived here in August. So my first impression, it was very hot. uh, but what I also got to learn very quickly is that the Omani people, I'm sure like the Indian people, are very friendly and very kind. And that hit me straight away. And then what I've also learned, having been here 14 years now, is that there's a lot of emphasis on the importance of the family. And I think that's really lovely to see that. And also respect is a really, really important part of Omani culture. And also peace. So when Omanis say to each other, salam alaikum, and they, which is their greeting, what they mean is peace be on you. And I think they really do mean that from the depth of their heart and their soul, that they wish you peace. That's my understanding. Maybe it's a little bit like namaste in your culture. Yeah. Which I think, doesn't that mean I see you?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
yes. Okay.
Wa alaikum assalam to the salam alaikum that you said.
Yeah.
May peace be upon you and all the beloved people around you. So
Yeah.
So, how did your leadership style evolve in an international context like Oman? I'm sure there must be challenges you faced to lead a school in a new cultural environment.
Yeah, there were plenty of challenges and also plenty of opportunity. But in the first 2 or 3 years, there were probably more challenges than opportunity. And so initially, I had to be a very energetic problem solver, because I think when you move into any organization or any school as a new leader, you probably will have quite a lot of problems to deal with. And so a lot of my time in the first 2 or 3 years was about problem solving, and you probably, Mrs. Khan, you probably, yeah, I still have lots of problems to solve. But what I learned, I think, what the maybe the first evolution of my leadership style was to maintain the energy to be able to embrace those problems. I found after 2 3 years that I also needed to also have creative things that I was doing that would energize me. So working creatively on developing professional development programs, or now these days it can be doing podcasts like this, which are really creative and positive. And while the problems will always find you, the creative opportunities you probably have to go and seek and find more yourself. But what I find is, if I try and, let's say, balance, let's say 80% of my experience is solving problems, but if then 20% is doing creative, positive things, that gives me the energy and the enthusiasm to keep solving the problems. So make sure I've got a balance of creativity as well as dealing with the challenges. That really helps me very much as a leader.
That's great. That's a great lesson for me. I'd say thank you so much. That's a great lesson for me to learn from.
So, what steps did you take to build trust amongst the local community?
I think that's a really good question, because building trust is, I think, really important for being a successful leader and running a successful organization. I think building trust is, you have to go out and meet people, and ideally meet them on their territory when you can do, meet them in their organization or their space. Create time for listening. One of the things I learned very early on, as a school leader, is that a lot of the role is about listening. It's about listening to students, it's listening to your colleagues, it's about listening to parents, and listening to people out there in the community. And by listening to people and, trying to find common ground, and then you can connect, and then that helps to build trust. So being open to, when somebody says, my personal assistant would say, "Oh, somebody from the Scouts wants to speak to you, and I've got a full diary, but I think it's really important that you speak to them." And then, okay, I will create some space to listen to them and understand what they would, or how they would like to work with the school. And so I think going out also to other schools in the city of Muscat, and meeting other school leaders and visiting their schools and listening to other school leaders about what their problems are. And again, also beyond the region. I mean, in my first 2 or 3 years, I underwent a series of school visits to schools both in Muscat, but also right across the Middle East region. One, because I wanted to understand what a good international school looked like, but I also wanted to try and make connection with other leaders. And some of those leaders that I met 14 years ago are some of the best and most helpful people that I now have in my network, and we still help each other solving problems, giving advice, sometimes just listening to each other. So I think reaching out to a range of people and having conversations, and trying to work out if there's ways in which you can work together and help each other. And then most importantly with trust, if you say you're going to do something, you do it and you follow through. Not that you just have a cup of tea and say, "Oh yeah, let's do this." So actually doing things together, and making sure that you respect your commitments, that's really important.
So from conversation to reality is what I'm understanding here. That's
From conversation to reality, and I think to collaboration and action. Yeah.
That's true. And the art of listening, that is something we all need to.
Yes, definitely.
Observational skills, I think we all as leaders need to inculcate that. And yes, as you rightly nailed the word collaboration, that is the key to
Yes.
success in educational institutions. Yes,
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
How did you approach blending UK curriculum with Omani culture? I mean, your flex set was a massive success. Please take us through that, please.
Well, it sounds like at least two questions there. So if I do with the blending of the curriculum first with the Mani culture, and then I'll talk a little bit about Flexed. So yeah, so we do have very much, with our education provision offer is very much shaped by the UK curriculum. But I think it would be a missed opportunity if we didn't take advantage of everything that the Omani culture and environment offers us. So we do build into our curriculum a lot of trips out into Muscat, out into the mountains, the wadis, the deserts, the coastline, to make sure that our students from a very young age are going out and experiencing what Oman has to offer, because it's a fantastic country. There's so much history, there's so much culture, there's so much biodiversity here, that it's a really rich environment within which to, if like, deliver a UK curriculum. So that's really, so we have a very extensive program of visits, day trips, residentials, and so on. And most of that happens in Oman. We do a little bit to other countries, but we do a huge amount in Oman. Now, the Flex program, well, that's a slightly different. So what we had in our school in Salalah, if we go back 6 years, we only had what we would call Key Stage 3. So we only could provide education up to age 14. And in year 9, which was the last year of the Salalah school in 2019, there were 5 students. And so to provide a GCSE curriculum for 5 students, very difficult to do that. If you've got 8, 9, 10 subjects for 5 students, very tough. So I went down to a coffee morning once we'd started to partner with British School of Salalah back in November 2019. And at the coffee morning were the 5 parents of these 5 year 9, grade 9 students. You'd probably call it maybe grade 8 or grade 10. Anyway, I can never work that out. Anyway, 5 students. Then the parents said, Mr. Vacher, what are you doing for our students next year for GCSE? Well, I said, well, there's only 5 students. We can't provide a curriculum for 5 students. Yes, we understand that, Mr. Vacher, but what are you going to do? Well, 5 students, we can't afford to employ 10 specialist teachers to teach a GCSE curriculum or an IB curriculum. We can't do that for 5 students. For 5 students, yes, we understand that, Mr. Vacher, but what are you going to do? And so these parents were doggedly determined that I would somehow come up with a solution. So I went away and discussed this challenge with my director of technology. And what we came up with is basically a blended program of learning. So it was essentially a third would be face-to-face teaching, because we already had an English and maths teacher teach these. There are only 15 kids in 7, 8, and 9, grade 7, 8, 9 Salami, but we did have an English and maths teacher. So 1/3 of the curriculum would be face-to-face, 1/3 would be online. So they would be taught from our teachers here in Muscat, 1,000 kilometers away, but they could teach them online. There were some teachers who had a bit of capacity to do that. And then 1/3 would be an independent study model. So it was 1/3 face-to-face, 1/3 online, and 1/3 independent study. So I went back to the parents and said, well, we can do something. It's a bit innovative. It's a little bit unusual, but it's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. How does that sound? And they said, as long as our children are in school, that sounds absolutely fine. So that's what we started sort of 5, 6 years ago. And we've evolved that model over the last 5 or 6 years. And it's interesting now that since COVID, there's been a growth, certainly in the UK market or UK world, of online and hybrid schools. And so I'm increasingly now talking to and learning from leaders of online schools and hybrid schools. And that's helping us refine and develop our blended model down in Salalah. And now here in Muscat, next week, we'll be introducing A-level psychology as an online course, because we can't afford to offer A-level psychology as a face-to-face course, because employing a full-time online a full-time psychology teacher is just not cost effective. But if we do it online, then the post-16 students, and we can accommodate that. And we've got 17 students who have chosen to do it online. And I don't know what you two would feel about doing an online course as part of your IB provision, but we've got 17, and they're not worried that it's online. But the teacher is going to meet the students at least 3 times a year. So the teacher's coming over next week, and she will meet the students for a week. So she'll help to build up that relationship, and she'll meet them at 2 further points in the year face to face, because again, some of these online schools now that operating fully online, even though they're fully online, they do understand that having a community and meeting up face to face is really important, even for these schools that are online, and the students who are experiencing those face to face, let's say, experiences. That's the best bit of the online school, interestingly. So yeah, that's where we were, and that's where we've got to at the moment.
Wow,
That's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, I see an incredible amount of patience that you had to exercise through all of this. And that's something that all of us need to do.
Yeah.
Take that and make it part of our lives. So thank you, sir.
I mean, actually, I also like to thank you because I was facing I had a dire need for a teacher, one of the faculty members, and you've just sown a seed in my mind that I could go in for the hybrid model because the teacher was really good and I didn't want to miss having him on board, but he wasn't ready to spend so much of time. And you just sowed that idea in my mind where I can have the hybrid mode use, have him online most of the time, and at least more than thrice a year have him on board at the school. So thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome. Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, I mean, the way I see it is that, I don't want to convert my school completely to an online school, but bringing in a bit of online learning, it creates more opportunity for the students. And I think once you start to think about that, if you think about that you don't always have to employ a full-time in-person teacher, that you don't always have to work with that model. You can complement that model and provide more opportunity and flexibility and personalization for the students by offering some things online. So it creates more opportunity. And what's interesting, like your colleague, there are many colleagues out there in the teaching profession who actually would like the flexibility of working online.
That's really interesting. And in today's date, I think if we are talking about the world is shrinking, why not have a teacher from a different world altogether, different side of the globe, and continue the spirit of teaching? So that's what is important, the spirit and your commitment to the teaching world. And yes, of course, thank you so much for that thought. I'm indebted to you. Over to you.
Thank you.
So, sir, what has Oman taught you, both personally and professionally?
These kids are giving you tough questions here, huh?
Yeah. What has Oman taught me personally? Well, I think as I was saying earlier, I guess I've learned a lot about Oman history and culture. I've learned a lot about living in an Islamic country. And when I sometimes see some of the headlines in some of the media in different parts of the world, I just wish that more people understood what it is like to live in an Islamic country and really understand what matters to the people here and their values. Because I think, like anywhere in the world, we can learn a lot from each other. And I'm learning a lot about Oman and its culture. So I'm learning about what it's like to live in an Islamic country, which is fascinating. I'm learning what it's like to live in a desert country and a very hot country. I'm learning what it's like to lead an international school, which is fascinating. And simply having students here from 70 different countries from around the world and seeing that those students from 70 different countries can work together, learn together, lead together, learn together, live together harmoniously is actually a very positive and optimistic outlook. When we see there's so much unrest around the world and people not getting on with each other, that in the right context, then people from all over the world can get on together. So I guess I'm learning lots personally and professionally. I'm learning and still learning a huge amount about leadership. And really, a lot of leadership is about leading people and working with a very wide range of people. And I'm fascinated about how what you can learn about so many different types of people and how to get the best out of them. And there's a huge field there to learn and experience.
That's incredibly inspiring. Yes.
Okay.
Please unpack for us Oman, a jewel of Arabia, something you launched last year. How effective this program operates on bringing shared culture and community values.
Well, I just have to sort of correct you there or do a fact check. I didn't launch Oman, didn't launch the Jewel of Arabia. It was actually Prince William of the UK and His Royal Highness Saeed Tayzim bin Haytham Al Saeed. They both launched the Jewel of Arabia at the Royal Geographical Society in London in November. Now, I was privileged enough to be at that launch, so I was part of the launch because British School Muscat and British School Salalah, we were the educational hub as part of this expedition. And the expedition was led by a very seasoned explorer called Mark Evans, who used to be a teacher at this school a long time ago. And he's done a number of expeditions. And he wanted to retrace the footsteps of an explorer called Bertram Thomas, who in 1928 walked from the northeastern tip of Oman, which is, I guess, the nearest part of Oman to India. So it's a place called Ras Al Had. From that northeastern tip, he wanted to walk down the coast of Oman all the way down to Salalah, which is probably well over 1,000 kilometers. And the reason he wanted to do that back in 1928 was there was no map of that part of the world in 1928. So just under 100 years ago, there was no map. And so he wanted to start to chart that territory so there could be a map of that part of the world. So what Mark Evans wanted to do by retracing the steps of Bertram Thomas, now there was a map, so he didn't need to redraw the map. But what Mark wanted to do along that coast, he wanted to highlight the biodiversity of Oman, because in our seas and along our coast in Oman here, there's so much marine life. There is so much biodiversity that needs celebrating, but also he wanted to highlight a number of projects which point very optimistically towards Oman's sustainable future.
It's a very well told story. Also, it's like we could actually visualize while you were talking.
Yeah, the
about
whole demographic and the landscape of Oman was like right in front of our eyes. Yes, so true.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, your podcast hits based on many key relevant topics in education. You've been vocal about the ethical use of AI and coaching culture. Could you please jog us down on why these topics are imperative at today's age?
Yeah, I think that's quite an easy question to answer. I mean, AI is everywhere, and it's going to be very powerful. And so I think within education, we need to do everything we possibly can to work with our students, to work with our colleagues and our families, to try and make sure that we get the most positive effects and impacts of AI, because there's going to be some negative stuff. There already is some negative impacts. So in education, we need to try and make sure that we're getting the positive and the best impacts from AI, which are constructive and actually help and support us do things better. Coaching, the reason I'm really interested in coaching is because in this increasingly technological age, there's a danger that we are losing the skill to communicate effectively with each other. And coaching for me is really about good questioning. So you're pretty good at questioning, and also good listening. And that's what good conversations are based on. And good conversations create good relationships, and good relationships create good culture. And so I really think coaching is important because it helps us to communicate with each other more skillfully, which then creates a better culture within our school and across our network. So, and I think, we probably need to develop those conversational skills more than ever, because they are one of the most important things that make us human in this increasingly AI world. We've got to make sure that we celebrate and we hold on to what's human about humans.
Absolutely. Yes. So I would very well resonate. I mean, though we talk a lot about AI these days and it's the talk of the town, but yes, a mixed feeling as educationist. I think Mr. Kai would also agree. Tell me, please correct me if I'm so AI. I'd just like to tweak that question. Do you think, as an educationist, AI is here to take over teachers, to take over the field of educators? Is it going to replace us ever? Are we in danger, Mr. Kai? Well,
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I think AI must not replace teachers. I think what we need to do as educators, teachers, leaders, is make sure that we learn to use AI so we become even better educators. But one of the things we're all going to need as we evolve into this world, one of the key things is critical thinking. Because with AI, one of the issues is we don't know what's true or not. And so developing our critical capability to look at a video or a piece of text and be able to critically appraise, is that true or not? How do I know it's true or not? I mean, that's been important for a long time, but it's even more important now. So things like critical thinking and communication skills and empathy and compassion and connection and collaboration. I think there are a number of skills which human beings can and will need to do, which AI won't be able to do in the same way. And I think looking after young people and educating young people, I think AI can increasingly play a role, but I think it can make us better educators and also help our students become better and deeper learners.
To that, especially when you spoke about empathy, I think no one better than a teacher. Yeah. So yes.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. You spoke a lot about practice listening to your staff at various platforms. Your understanding, how does listening contribute to build a balance in a successful legacy? I mean, what systems and habits have you developed to ensure staff voices are heard and valued under your leadership?
Okay. Yeah, good question. Quite a
Yeah.
challenging question. So what do you do, Mr. Vacher? Well, I think listening is really important. Why do I think that's important as leader? Because I think if you're going to lead successful change, I mean, I'm very much like to do things, like to think of doing things differently so we can do them better. And if we're going to do them better, if we're going to do things differently and do them better, we need to also take people with us, or take as many people with us as possible. And I think one of the ways you do that is by listening to people, listening to their concerns, listening to their resistance. And that will help you make an even better change. Because if you listen to multiple perspectives, people will give you insights that you haven't thought about. And if you really embrace those and take them on board and think empathetically about what that change will mean for that parent or that student or that teacher, then that will help you create a better solution. So I think that's it's important to create a better change, design a better change, and take people with you. And I think if people feel that they are being listened to, there's a lot more opportunity. Even though at first they might resist the change, if they feel that you're listening to them and you're taking their concerns seriously, that you might be able to together work out a solution and still move forward. So I think that's really important. So how do I do that? Well, when I first came here, I listened to every single member of staff. I had lunch for the first 18 months with as many students as possible so I could understand the students' perspective. I created coffee mornings and coffee evenings for parents. I went to visit every governor. So I did that in the early months, really trying to listen to everybody as much as possible. Now you can't do that all the time as a leader, but that was a good start. So what do we do now? Well, we used to have an annual staff survey. We now have an ongoing staff survey. So it's called the TES or TES Pulse Survey. So every month we are sending out a different set of questions to our staff, to all our staff, and they are feeding back to us. And then, rather than just do that once a year, we can, the moment somebody gives us feedback, they can make a comment. myself or my colleagues can respond to that. You can do that by email. So somebody can say, I'm not really very happy with the sandwiches in the tuck shop. I'd really like to see more chicken. And you can say, okay, I take your point. I'll go and speak to the caterers tomorrow about that. So it's a much more in the moment sort of feedback rather than this annual. So that we introduced that last year. That was one of the things that we introduced, and the staff, there's a lot of very positive feedback about this regular opportunity to offer the school feedback. I was a bit worried that it might overload my leadership team, but the way we've managed that has meant that we are working with it very effectively. And actually, you know, one of the most important things about feedback, it should help us improve as a school, and it is helping us get more regular feedback and helping us improve the school more rapidly. So that's really useful. In terms of our parents, we do an annual survey. We would wish there was a software program like we've got with the staff, but we do listen to parents in other forums as well. We have WhatsApp groups, and parents do give us regular feedback in addition to the annual survey. And then students, we do have student representatives across the year groups in the primary school and the senior school. I met our newly elected student leaders in the last 2 weeks of term. We had 2 or 3 meetings. So while I can't listen to every student all the time, I do try to listen, and I walk around the site. I talk to students, listen to students. I go on some of the student activities. So I try to give students the opportunity to come and speak to me and talk to me about issues that that concern them. And one of the most sort of things I was most proud of last year, we redeveloped quite a large part of the site into a garden, and we involved the students right throughout that process. And at the end of the process, they'd been so involved that when Mr. Vacher thought he'd come up with a name for it, their students said to me, "Hang on, Mr. Vacher, we're involved in this. We want to run a consultation how to name the slate." And I said, "Oh, sorry, that's my mistake." And of course, you must run a consultation. So the students run a consultation from the students, from the staff, from the parents to decide how to name this landscape garden. So they were involved in the design process from the start to the finish.
That's a true leader. If the other educationists across the globe are watching this, I think you have given us an idea of conducting 3 surveys. And of course, the breakfast thing and the coffee thing is a takeaway. Do we also have something called Breakfast with Mentor, where I meet the students, and that's when I come to know that they hate it when the physics teacher takes away their physical education periods.
Right. Okay.
But the fact that you are taking so much of time away from your busy schedule as a leader of the school to take feedback and regular surveys from teachers, and even a small thing like what would they prefer in their food, I mean, on the list, on the menu, is something that shows how much you care. Congratulations. Amazing job. Amazing job.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. We know you're fond of cycling, motorsports, photography, and hiking. Basically, being outdoors.
Yeah.
And that reflects a lot on your educational philosophies. It's fascinating to see your principal cycling with the students around the town and exploring things together. My question is, if you had to pick one of your hobbies and promote it to this young generation, which one would it be, and what would one learn from this?
I think I'd go back to the start of this conversation. The love of the outdoors and being active that my parents gave me. I think if there was one thing that young people were doing now or started to do now and continued for the rest of their life and could do, and that's walking and going for a walk outside in nature, because you don't need to be a super sports person to do that. It won't damage your joints. And I think there's a lot of research that shows that walking outside in nature is and as long as you do it every day and you do it regularly and you walk for at least 10 minutes, ideally a bit longer. But if you do that nearly every day for the rest of your life, that can have a huge impact on your mental and physical health.
That was so good.
So true. Yes. Sorry, gonna walk now.
Yeah.
I'd say if you can walk in 42 degrees, I surely can walk in 33.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, thank you so much, sir, for that wholesome conversation. We would now like to take you through our rapid fire
Oh,
round.
yeah. Before
Oh
you
no.
do that rapid fire, there's one question I wanted to ask you, if you permit me. Should I, Mr. Kai?
Yes, please go ahead.
So, the Educator Corner, a podcast according to the Podbean, it features a conversation about challenges and opportunities in schools. Could you, Mr. Kai, elaborate on the types of challenges you faced as a school leader? Challenges as a school leader, I'm sure there are many, but just a few. And that required you to listen deeply to different perspectives and find a win-win solution, as mentioned in your blog post on the Kinderpedia. So,
Well, I think one of the challenge, one of the big challenges, it's probably the biggest challenge. Basically, there was a study um, about 20 years ago by McKinsey, and it was about what makes effective education systems around the world. And the headline from that big piece of research, I think it's 2009, was that the quality of an education system cannot exceed the quality of the teachers within it. And I think that goes for any school as well. The quality of a school cannot exceed the quality of the teachers. So I think probably the most important thing we do as school leaders, but it's also a big challenge, is how do we recruit, retain, and develop quality people to work with our young people, because that is going to be the most important factor. And so, for us, certainly at what we call secondary level, some might call high school level, recruiting maths teachers, physics teachers, for example, that could be very difficult. There is a shortage of those teachers, certainly in the UK, in the international sector, and probably around the world. So that for me is the biggest challenge. And I've done a few podcasts discussing that challenge. But I think there are opportunities, as we've already discussed, around maybe moving into online. I think that's one of the solutions. I don't think that's the only solution, but I think that's one of the solutions, because there are lots of teachers who are no longer teaching in school, but who would quite happily teach online. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges. But I guess in coming back to the creative piece, one of the great opportunities then is once you've got your teachers on board in your school, I think it's a really creative opportunity to think about how you develop them and how you can train them. And that's a great thing to be thinking about with your colleagues.
thank you so much, sir. And we truly believe that professional development and ongoing professional development in teachers is the key to success. As we said, the quality of teachers have to be far beyond the quality of the school, and then can the quality of school be retained forever. Thank you for that those insightful words. And now, shall we go to that naughty
Fun segment.
Fun segment.
Rapid fire round.
Yeah.
They're probably
Yes, go for it. Yeah.
much.
Okay, be quick here.
Yes, let's do this.
Yes.
Okay. So, one leadership value you live by.
What
that-
leadership value do I live by? Quick. Hard work.
Okay.
One rule you always broke as a student.
Sorry, one rule I broke: smoking behind the bike shed.
One snack you couldn't live without as a kid.
Sorry.
One snack you could not live without as a kid.
One snack I could not live without as a kid. Ooh. Salt and vinegar crisps.
Yeah.
Your secret weapon in motivating your team.
I guess that the fact that I had and still sometimes have a stammer, so I'd like to feel that my powers of empathy are reasonable. So I try to understand what the impact and what somebody might be going through, and try to accommodate that in whatever I'm trying to ask them to do. Okay.
Most used phrase in your staff meetings.
Sorry?
Most overused phrase in your staff meetings.
Most abused phrase. Mm. Reach out.
Reach out.
Reach
Oh.
out.
Yeah.
School assembly or classroom visit.
School assembly.
Leadership by heart or leadership by strategy.
I have to choose. If I had to choose, it would be leadership by heart.
Strict routine or organized chaos.
Strict routine.
Teacher training day or student led conference.
Student-led conference.
That came easy.
Yeah. Coffee fueled mornings or reflective evening walks.
I know
I think
this
we
one.
Everyone knows the
I know
answer.
this one.
No, I might surprise you. What was the first one?
Coffee fueled mornings.
Yes, coffee pure mornings, and then evening walks. Yeah.
Big vision or small wins.
Big win or small win?
Big visions or small wins.
Big vision.
Big
Vision. Or small
a
win.
big vision.
Or small wins.
So big or small wins. I think small wins lead to big vision.
Oh.
So small wins, small wins.
Are you also a poet along being an author? That's nice, a lovely line, yes.
Legacy or innovation.
That's one. That's a good one.
Legacy.
Omani mountains or the UK countryside.
Oh, this is.
That is a tough one, yeah.
Amani Mountains,
Oh!
because they're nearly always dry.
Global citizenship or local community impact.
Local community impact.
Omani shua or British tea.
British tea.
That can never be replaced.
Alright. Before we let you go, sir, our audience would love to know what small everyday action do you believe that makes the biggest difference in school communities?
What small everyday action? I think there's quite a lot of research behind this, so it's not just what I think. I think leading with a smile, and as much as you can as you walk around your school, smile. That can be quite infectious. And when I don't walk around with a smile, then sometimes people will tell me about it. So I think leading with a smile is really, it lifts people. So even when I don't feel like smiling, when my daughter was at the school, if she walked past me and she said, "Dad, smile." So yeah.
That's a very small little thing. It may sound a very small thing, but I think that act of kindness, of smiling, it lifts the hearts of many. So you are spreading the joy. And it's beautiful.
Yes.
So, looking back on your journey from classroom to international leadership, what would you hope your students and colleagues will remember most about you, the way you led and lived your values?
I guess that I led with.
Retire doesn't mean that you're retiring.
No, I'm not retiring. No. I think that I led with courage and kindness.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Courage and kindness.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, sir. It was an absolute honor and pleasure to have you here with us today. It was our first time asking questions to a principal, but your answers felt like therapy and a spark of motivation. Ma'am, would you like to sum up the day for us?
Oh, can I make a small request here, Mr. Kai?
You can.
Have you ever been to India? So
I've not made it. No, I'm not. But I'm planning to travel to Delhi in early September for my first visit.
Oh,
wow.
and trust me, Delhi is not very far from Mumbai, just 1.5 to 2 hours. So we would like to welcome you to our school, SP Newton Academy, and it will be a great honor for us to meet you in person. in just a span of 1 hour, if we've gained so many insightful thoughts, so much of wisdom, I'm sure when you visit here and meet our students and faculty members, we will be visiting an ocean of knowledge. So we would like to welcome you to our school. And we thank you on behalf of the management of SP Nutan Academy, the faculty members and students for this lovely session this afternoon of yours and evening of ours. Thank you so much for joining us. Words are not enough to thank you for your kindness in joining us for this podcast. And this will be the best segment of Anna Ed Talks and the podcast from SP Nutan Academy. And the most memorable one, because I've never seen a leader being so vocal, so open, so humble, so down to earth, talking about simple things in life that matters the most. And you've taught a lot to us in just a little time. We're looking forward to you, and our country welcomes you with open arms. And please join us, if possible, in Mumbai. We shall again start pinning you. Niyati is on it from now onwards. And we hope to see you one day at our humble abode. Thank you very much. God bless you. May you have a very long life with educationists and in the field of education in Muscat and around the globe. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your very kind words. And thank you very much for your invitation. I will need to make sure that I can find a way of getting to Mumbai as soon as I can. I would love to visit your school. It's ever since I did my job in London, I visited a lot of schools when I worked in London for the educational charity. And so I love visiting schools. And it's been an absolute privilege and a pleasure to be on your podcast today. Your questions have really tested me, so thank you for that. You've done an excellent job for your first experience. I have one question for you. One question. I'm curious about why your podcast is called Anna Ed Talks.
Miss me around with you.
Okay. So Anna is abbreviation for SP Nutan Academy. That's the name of our school right there.
Ah, of course.
And this platform is basically to allow our students to have experiential learning, talking with the industry experts across the globe. So we are very grateful to have you with us today. And this podcast has taken double heights. Isn't it, ma'am? Yes.
Absolutely.
And honestly, sir, to be asking questions in general is brave. And he's 16 years old today from IBCP sections. IBCP section, they have been asking questions to an illustrious principal right there, sitting right next to their own principal. So
Yeah. No, you've been very brave and very kind in the way you've done that, and you've made me feel very welcome. And I think it's one of the great things about technology is that we can do this. You could be in Mumbai, I can be in Muscat, and we can have this conversation, and people around the world can listen, and we can learn from each other. And it's just wonderful that we can connect like this. So I think that's one of the joys of modern technology. So thank you very much for inviting me to your podcast, and I would love to come and visit you in your school. So thank you for that invitation, and good luck with the podcast, Anna Ed Talks. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Have a lovely evening.
have a lovely
Take care. Thank you. Cheerio.